I'm Jim here with JB's Big Adventure, coming to you from Lake Chapala, Mexico. Welcome back, everybody. I've got an awesome video for you today to see, and it's going to be some things that you probably have never heard before that people are not talking about or aren't going to tell you about, and I'm going to be sharing those with you right now. Before I get to that, if you haven't already, I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's fast, free, and easy to do. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little red box. Tap on it, and you're subscribed. Also, give us one of those thumbs up. Lets other people know it's a great video to watch about retiring to Lake Chapala. Now, let's get to the things that nobody's really going to say anything to you about when you're looking at moving to Mexico, but more importantly, moving to Lake Chapala, Mexico. So, the first one of the first things that we found out was don't expect your mail to get here. If you're having mail sent to you by the post office, don't expect on getting it. We had some things that were being sent to us through T-Mobile. It was one of Barbara's new phones, and it turned out it never got here. It actually got sent to the border. We were told it was sent back, and then we ended up tracking it, and T-Mobile let us know it was in Mexico City, and that was the last time we heard of it, and that was about a year ago. So we never got the phone. So you don't want to send things by postal service because you just won't get it. You want to make sure you're using the larger companies such as FedEx or DHL or even UPS. Barbara and I, we use FedEx and DHL when we're having things sent and know that needs to get to a certain spot. Also, seat belts here are optional. In all actuality, they're not. But you don't see people wearing seatbelts very often at all. In fact, Barbara and I, we were watching a couple getting into a car, and they had a little girl. I mean, she must have been 5 or 6. They stuck her inside the car. They didn't put her in her car seat. She's sitting in the back seat. As they're driving away, I saw her get off the seat and basically kind of go in between where the parents were sitting, between their two front seats. So it's kind of crazy, but it's something that people aren't going to tell you. You don't need to wear seatbelts. You do want to wear seatbelts. The same thing with helmets. There is a quasi helmet rule here. Not everybody abides by it. It isn't always enforced, and that's one of the challenges, is because when there's a rule, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be enforced. Same thing, we saw recently that they're going to be ticketing more people that are running lights, red lights. And I would just tell you that traffic rules here, traffic signs, traffic lights are mere suggestions. But they did let us know in a recent newspaper, that in fact they're going to be cracking down on that more, of individuals actually just going through the red light. And I'm not saying Mexicans. I'm saying I see expats do it all the time. And it's sad because somebody's saying, well, if they're doing it, I can do it too. That's not the right attitude. The right attitude is it's safer to make sure that you're basically stopping at the red light until it becomes green and then go. There's a reason. It's a safety reason. It's a life reason. So I'd like to encourage, if you're watching this and you're already here, don't run the red lights. You can flush, you can't flush toilet paper down the toilets here. There's a lot of places that's actually true, even in the mall. I mean, there's places you can go that's a public toilet that you can't flush the toilet paper down. There's residences that you can't do that. So when you find a trash can that's next to the toilet, you'll kind of know that that's a place that you need to throw the toilet paper into. Now, with me personally, it's just kind of a weirded out thing. I mean, it's it's not the way you were raised in the States. So it's one of those things. I almost would rather not go than to deal with that. And also another thing too you don't get told is that the public toilets here don't have toilet seats. The majority of them don't. So I feel bad for women because it doesn't matter which way they go. They still have to, in one or two. Guy doing one, that's one thing. But if you're having to just squat when you're doing number 2, it's a totally different thing. So, and also they're not free. If you go to a public restroom, I'm talking about public, not like in a public park at the Malecons. Even yeah, you go to one of those toilets, it's going to be 5 pesos. You go to the shopping districts in Guadalajara, it's going to be 5 pesos. So they're, for one, they're not free, and the other thing is, don't expect there to be toilet paper there. You have to get that from the person, the attendant standing outside of that restroom. But also just know that you can always flush the toilets, put the toilet paper down the toilet. So just one of those things that's, it's a good thing to know, just to be prepared for. This is another big one, and I've got another video, separate video coming out about this, but that's about tipping. You always want to be tipping. You want to tip those folks that are serving you, whether it's the gas attendant, because here it's full service, whether it's the gal that's bagging your groceries at Walmart or at Ponchos, whether it's your housekeeper, whether it's the guy that delivers food to your front door, whether it's the Amazon driver. I mean, you want to get in the habit. For one, Mexico is poor, is a poor country. And the people are doing deliveries, and the people that are serving us are poor. So it's a good thing to always be carrying change on you. Now, I get asked all the time, how much? I would say at a minimum of 20 pesos. Barbara and I, we don't have money. But I definitely feel that it's important to tip them. And I say 20 pesos, that's $5. I'm sorry, 20 pesos is $1. It's not $5. 20 pesos is $1. And is $1 really going to hurt you? No, and Barbara and I, we know that $1 here, $1 there, $1 here, $1 there, isn't going to break us. But it's the difference that you can make in somebody else's life. It's being able to do something that they don't necessarily, have a chance themselves trying to do because they're working hard. There are individuals that are out and they'll be at the basically at the intersections, the major intersections, and they're doing circus acts and things, and they also look for tips. Depending on where you're at, if you're back in the line, you might not be able to do that because of the fact if you're close to the light, you'll be going through the light once it turns green. But I would encourage you to, if you're coming here, to be tipping those that serve you and take care of that, because I think it's just, the window you give through, the windows you receive through. The window that you give through is the window you receive through. I always feel it's better that you go ahead and give, because that's making a difference. You're making a deposit, a positive deposit in somebody else's life. So you can't drink the tap water. Now, you'll hear that, but is it really true? It depends on where you're living here. If you're living in a gated community like we do, we can drink the tap water. We've got our own well. It turns out that the water is pure here. I can't tell you with all, are all of the gated communities that way, but I can tell you too, you can rent places in different communities that will have like water filtration systems and such. So if you're downtown Ajijic and you're looking at drinking the tap water, I wouldn't do that because the fact it's going to be older. So what's really going to be important is, what is the age of where you're at? Is it an older place? Is it been kept up well? Is it one of the old restaurants? I mean, you've got to really kind of be smart about that. So in regards to drinking the tap water, I don't suggest it. You won't always hear about it, but you'll hear people also say that that you can't drink it because of the fact it's not purified. And it just all depends on where you're at. Another thing, the buses don't follow any rules. This is really interesting because if you stand at a place that's a bus stop and you were to time it, you're going to find that the buses end up stopping there at all different kinds of times. So it isn't like in the States that if it says 12:15, they'll be there at 12:15. It could be early. It could be later than that. So the buses don't really follow that rule. The other thing, too, it's really interesting is the buses travel here, and they've actually got their front door open. So it's almost like once you come to your spot, they push you out the door and take off. So when it comes to safety, you've got to be a little careful about that because the front door, they don't close the door. And so as they're traveling, people are just getting on and getting off really quickly. So that's another thing that another rule that they don't follow. Politeness is key. This is something you won't hear from people. I think a lot of people come here. I shouldn't say, well, I should say there are a lot with entitlement that this is how we need to be treated as an expat. You know, the Mexicans need to take care of us and need to treat us a certain way. No, it's the opposite way around. We're in their country. It's the same thing with learning Spanish. Right now, I'm in the mix of learning Spanish. We live in their country. We need to respect what they do. If they lived in the States, wouldn't we expect them to learn English? Absolutely. So why shouldn't we learn Spanish? If we're going to live here, we need to embrace the culture. We need to do what we can to communicate with them. So it's our responsibility to learn Spanish, not them having to learn English. That's a big thing to me. It's a pet peeve. And it's really all about embracing the culture here and the Mexican people. You can drive here as long as your driver's license is valid. You can drive in Mexico. It's not a problem. You don't have to get a Mexican driver's license. So as long as your driver's license is valid in the States or in Canada, you can drive with no problem here at Mexico. Banking. Banking is typically done in person. Doing banking here online is a little bit different. So I encourage people, if they're going to be doing banking, that you're doing the banking in person. You're going to the bank and you're dealing specifically with whether it's a teller, whether it's somebody that's in the branch, it's a manager or so that's taking care of some things for you, or you're purchasing a home or wherever it may be. You want to make sure you're doing that in person. Renting here can be tricky. I guess the best thing I can say to that is there's scams that you can fall for. I really urge people that if you're going to be renting something, to know and have an idea of what it is you're renting. Now, I offer a service that if somebody's looking at moving here and they see something online, well, just know that what they do here is they actually take photos of places or videos with wide angle lenses, so it makes everything look larger. So just be careful, because you could actually rent something online, sight unseen. You get here and find out that the furniture that you saw online isn't even in the house anymore. Or those pictures were taken when somebody else lived there, and the pictures was of the furniture that was in there when those individuals were living there. So renting can be tricky. There's also things in the contract. There's things that happen here in Mexico that's just different than it is in the States. And there are scams. So it can be tricky. And so I really encourage people to be careful with that. And I've mentioned this over and over again. And that is to be a realtor here. And realtors do not only sales, but they also do rentals. All it takes is a business card. So you could be with somebody that's just really not, there's a lot of things I can say about it. I've got another video coming out about it too. Just because they have no experience. And what ends up happening is, they're talking to somebody having to rent a house. Well, I'll rent the house for you. And just a lot of stuff that goes on. You just got to be careful about renting in Mexico. And if you need help with that, let me know. So here's a big one. I don't think you'll ever hear much about people saying that the Mexican people are friendly. There's all this thing on TV about all the bad stuff and the cartels and things that happen here. I want you to know the Mexicans are friendly. And I'll share with you why. Yesterday I was on my bike, and I rode my bike from where we live over to Chapala. And every time I'm passing somebody, or I'm passing someone on a bike, or I'm just passing somebody that's walking, I'll always say either buenos dias, or I'll say good morning or good afternoon or hi. Do you know what I find? I find that when I'm talking to the Mexican people, they will always say buenos dias. They will always say hola back. They'll repeat it back to you. Expats, I'm just amazed. You don't hear that from them. It's almost like you're talking to me. I mean, it's just strange. But I just want you to know that it isn't the Mexicans that aren't friendly. It's the expats. As an expat, when you move here, you're here just like you are wherever it was you were before. So it doesn't change. If you're an expat and you're watching this video, I'd encourage you. Be nice, be cordial, be polite, not only to the Mexicans, which is the most important, but also to the expats. I just mentioned it. It's important to learn Spanish. There's places that you can actually get free Spanish lessons. You can get them at the LCS, Lake Chapala Society. You can also get them over at the American Legion, and there's other places. You want to make sure you're learning Spanish. If you plan on living in Mexico, you want to make sure you're able to communicate to them in their language, not in ours. Here's another one. One of the biggest Mexican holidays that is in the U.S. is called Cinco de Mayo. I want you to know that is not Mexican Independence Day. Mexican Independence is September the 16th. The reason of Cinco de Mayo is this, and it's really an interesting story if you want to go read up on it, but it has everything to do with the liquor industry. The liquor industry in Mexican restaurants. So in the 70s and 80s, what happened was the beer companies found a great way to be able to market something. So they come up with this Cinco de Mayo as being Mexican Independence Day. And it isn't. It is not. So what happens is it's a big drinking day, Cinco de Mayo. It's also a big day to be eating at Mexican food restaurants in the States and in Canada. So I just want you to know Cinco de Mayo is not celebrated here. It is not a Mexican holiday, okay? So it's important to know because you don't be embarrassed. What do you folks do for Cinco de Mayo here? There is no Cinco de Mayo here, okay? That's the way it is. That's in the States. It's not here. So if you really want to know about the Mexican Independence Day, it's September the 16th, just so you know that now. It's cheaper to eat out than it is to eat at home. You know, this kind of goes back and forth. I just had somebody just recently asking me, well, I eat for X amount of dollars. How in the world can you eat out for less than you eat in? Well, here's what's happening. I know for a fact, those are coming from people that don't live here, okay? They're thinking that they're going to a restaurant, and absolutely, Barbara and I, when we went back to the States back in late April, the very first breakfast that we had in the States cost us almost $40. And we got thinking to ourselves, are you kidding me? $40 for breakfast. Because we can eat here for $6. So if you don't live here, then yeah, you're not going to understand how that is. Barbara and I go out, and when we go out, we're not paying $50, $60, $70 for a meal. We're not even paying $20. So just know that you can eat out here for less than you can eat at home. It is truth here. We've been here now for 2 years. It's an absolute fact that it's cheaper to eat out than it is to eat in. Don't expect people here to be on time. It's just the way it is. I say this in love, and that is that the Mexican people, I don't think, have a urgent bone in their body. It is the culture here. It is laid back. There is no rush. So it's one of those things, if you're a mover and a goer and shaker and a mover and you're just always going, just know it's not that way here. It's a lot more laid back. And what I find is, and this is just amazing, it isn't the Mexican people. It's the expats. I know that we've gone to dinner with folks, and what's happened is they don't show up on time. Whether we leave, we're meeting at 5 o'clock or we're meeting at 7 or 7, whatever time, that it's just there are folks that are into the laid back lifestyle, and that's fine. I have no problem with it. But just know if you're coming here and you're expecting to get things right now done, literally everybody pronto on top of it. It's not the way it is here. It's a lot more laid back. So just realize things take longer. If you're going to go out to a restaurant, you're going to have a meal, just realize that it might take a while to get the menus. And then it'll take a while to get your food. And don't expect them just to bring the ticket out when you're, after 15 minutes of getting your food. You more or less have to ask for the ticket. So that's just the way things are done here. And I got to tell you, I'm okay with it because I come from the hustle and the bustle. So it's nice to know that it's laid back. internet speed isn't as fast. That's true. If you get just standard internet speed, it is not fast. Now, when you live in a community or you live in an area where things are more updated and you've got fiber optic, now you can get faster internet speeds. But I've got folks that have moved here that have rented places. They didn't check what the internet speed was before they rented, and they find out that it is slow. So just know that's another one of those things that when you're looking at renting a place that you're really looking into to make sure of what the internet speed is. And, you could do speedtest.net. You can go to anywhere. And if you do speedtest.net, you can find out what the internet speed is at that rental property. So that's an important thing. If you're doing things and you need to have fast internet, like us, I mean, I've got to have good internet because of the fact that I've got to be able to upload my videos and such onto YouTube, and it takes a higher speed. So when we were in the States, we got 80 gigs and it was costing us $140 a month. Here we have 200 and it's costing us $30 a month. So, I mean, literally 80 gigs, $140. Here we got 200 and it's $30. What a difference. So if you're looking for fast internet speed, that's going to be something you want to make sure you check into because you can always upgrade it. And it isn't expensive to do that. But it's an important thing to know. If you're renting a place and they say internet's included, you want to find out what the speed of it is. I want you to know that you cannot apply for a Mexican visa, whether it's a temporal or permanente, in Mexico. The whole process has to start in the States. I don't know why people started spreading this around on the internet, on social media, Facebook. These are people that have no idea what they're talking about. I will tell you, you cannot start the process in Mexico to be able to get your Mexican visa, whether it's a temporal or permanente. Has to start in the country that you're originally from. So if you're in the States, you got to do it in the States, in the state that you live in. Doesn't have to necessarily be done in that state, but if you are from the States, it has to be done in the States. Or if you're from Canada, it has to be done in Canada. So you cannot start the process in Mexico about getting your temporal or your permanente. Amazon. I don't know why we were told this, but we were told that Amazon doesn't come to your front door. Amazon does come to your front door. As a matter of fact, Barbara got us a little something today from Amazon, and it came right to our front door. So you can get Amazon here in Mexico. Now, there are people that choose to rent a mailbox or a P.O. box or whatever it may be to have it go there, and that's not a problem. But if you've got an address and it's a viable address, Amazon will deliver directly to your front door. Something else you won't hear. You'll hear negativity about this, and I don't know why. You'll hear people say, well, I go to Mexico to get my health insurance or to get my medications. Well, they do. Here's the reason why. Because it is cheaper, and the health care is at least equal, if not better, than it is in the States. The equipment that's used here is like in the States. The doctors are licensed just like they are in the States. I will just tell you that the medical health care here is phenomenal. I just heard again from someone at church on Sunday talking about the fact of somebody in the hospital and just how blessed they are of being in the hospital, in this hospital, and how clean and how caring the people are. That's huge. So the medical care here gets a thumbs up. When we go to a doctor's appointment, I will tell you they get a thumbs up. You don't just go for 15 minutes. They're not checking your watch to see when in fact you're needing to leave. Your appointment's for an hour. And so it's a great experience. The medical health care here is a great experience. If you're paying for health care out of pocket, it's inexpensive. Now, I don't remember exactly what Barbara's medications were. I want to say she spends $400, $500, $600 in the States. Here, her medications, I don't believe, are even $100. They're quite a bit less than that. So the medications here are less expensive. When folks have come for my relocation service, what I've done is I take them by the pharmacy, and they're always blown away about how inexpensive. Or they might get medications in the States that are free, and they come here, and it might not be free, but it's just a few dollars, $3, $4, $5. I've had folks look at their medications here, and they can get their medication here filled for less than what their copay is in the States. So the medications, the medical care is cheaper here than it is in the States. Mexico is safer than what you'll see on TV. It just, every time I see something posted on Facebook or on one of the other social media sites, it just amazes me, the stuff that people say. Just know that we're safe here. We're safe. I know there's a lot of things that take place. There's a lot of things that take place when it comes to cartel and all activity, a lot of times at the borders. And we're not at the border. We're actually a 12-hour drive below either the border in California, the border in Arizona, or even in Texas. So just know that what you see on TV isn't necessarily what it's like here. You've got to make sure you get the whole story. So there are people that when it comes to safety is a big thing. And I've got another video coming out that I'm doing that I've updated it for 2023. Since we're, just around the middle of the year, I'm wanting to get an update on that. But in fact, we're safe being here in Mexico. It's easy to make friends here if you're wanting to make friends. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things to do here at Lake Chapala. One of the things I was going to talk about was plenty of activities and things to do. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of clubs. As a matter of fact, there's so much going on just at the Lake Chapala Society. They have over 200 volunteers. That's a lot of things going on. So there's a lot of things to do here at Lake Chapala. There's a lot of things to do and activities you can do on the lake. Everything from, I've seen people windsurfing. I've seen water skiing. I've seen you kneel on the board. I can't think it's not a skim, but they're kneeling on the board. They have that here. I've seen sailboats. I've seen kayaks. I've seen canoes. Sea-doos even on the lake. So there's a lot of lake activities. One of the reasons why people say, well, I've never seen anybody in the lake. Well, remember, on the north shore of Lake Chapala, it's a retirement community. It's poor Mexico, but it's a retirement community. So you're not going to see a 70-year-old out on a sea-doo or out on a sailboat necessarily the way that you would in the States. So that's one of the reasons people say things about the water, because the fact they've never been watching to see what's out there. I mean, it's pretty amazing things people see, or people in it swimming. So just know that you gotta make sure you check the source that's actually sharing the things that you're wanting to know about, because of the fact there's a lot of things that take place here, and there's a lot of places that you can make new friends. And last one got here is the reliability of the utilities. Whether it be the water or whether it be electricity, whether it be the internet, there can be outages. Just recently we had an outage, and it was through the internet, and the communication wasn't really set up well. What's happening is they're doing some construction on one of the highways here to be able to help with the flow of cars, of travel, of vehicles. And so what they were doing apparently is running new fiber optic lines. So anybody who's on fiber optic didn't have a service, but it wasn't really anything said. Now, I did speak with one of our neighbors who just basically speaks Spanish, and I was able to get from him, because he kind of shared with me that he got something on his phone that had said that there were some wires that had been stolen. But then I later found out that there was a reason why all these workers were at a certain spot. I didn't know what the whole thing was, but they're running wires. So I think what happened was they had it off because they were running wires and they're making connectivity and such. So, like I want to say it was like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night until in the morning sometime, I woke up and went and checked, and it was back on again. So it isn't like there's also all of a sudden an outage. It was something was being done with the service. Electrical. There's places that go down. You get storms here, and the electricity can go out. Now, again, this happens in the older areas of Lake Chapala. So It's again just understanding the kind of place you got. How's the wiring? Is the wiring being updated, or is it older? And so that's an important thing that when you're renting, that you want to find out about how reliable are the utilities. Now, one of the things I do with the service that I provide, which is the exploration and relocation service, I talk about the neighborhoods that actually have the better internet, the better higher speed internet, electricity that you can actually count on, that's you can rely on it, and also the water. So there's some areas that don't have having water issues right now, that water trucks are having to be taking water to those communities. So just know that utilities aren't necessarily reliable everywhere, but there are places that they are. So those things, if there's anything on here that you have questions about, feel free to email me. You can email me at jbsbigadventure521@gmail.com. jbsbigadventure521@gmail.com if you have any other questions or comments that you'd like to make. Well, friend, I hope that's been helpful for you about things that you're not just going to hear from other people about living at Lake Chapala, Mexico, but you now have been brought up to date, I guess. You've got the lowdown on the information, so hope that's been helpful. Friend, if you haven't already, I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's a great community. I know you want to be a part of it. All you got to do is go to the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little red box. Tap on it, and you're subscribed. Go ahead and give us one of those thumbs up. Lets other people know it's a great video to watch about retiring here at Lake Chapala. Stop by, ask a question, maybe leave a comment, maybe leave an idea that you'd like to be able to see when it comes to a video. Go ahead and do that. And also make sure you hit the bell, because that way you'll be immediately notified when our next video comes out, and you don't want to miss our next video. So with that, as always, thank you for being a part of this community, supporting this channel. Have an awesome day. We'll see you on the next video.